Eilish.
Hey Bray, how's it going?
Um, it is good. Today is a new day. I've got some very important packages as I'm rethinking my habits and lifestyle, and I'm feeling really excited about um just really redoing my morning routine because I had this realization. I talked to my therapist, and I'm noticing that my morning routine that I've made that has carried me over the past couple of years is just no longer serving me and my goals. And so I am doing a little refresh. And I'm one to get all the tips and tricks and like collect them and then convince myself that I'm doing them doing enough of them, but I'm not actually doing what I need to be doing for myself. And so one of those big ones is I now am gonna be a pour over coffee gal.
I love that for you. I'm a Chemex girly myself, which is very similar. So, I think if you're a coffee connoisseur, that type, and you like are living in a 1 to 2 person household, the Chemex with a pour over is the right way to go. So, congrats, that's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I previously every single morning would wake up, put on my workout clothes and go to a coffee shop in my neighborhood. And being in New York City, there's some great coffee shops. There's one that's better than all the others. Um, and
Yeah, I think you've taken me there. It's
yeah,
cute.
it's great. I go there
They have avocado
almost every
toast.
single day. Sometimes I go other places. Um, but I go to this one coffee shop every single day, and I'm noticing that having to get out of bed to get dressed, have my breakfast, leave my house to go, and so my former morning routine. I wake up. I maybe hit the snooze button 6 or 7 times. I get dressed. I get out. I get out of my bed and I go to get sunlight in my eyes. And I'm telling myself I'm getting sunlight right in my eyes. Look at me going for my morning walk to my coffee. And when I'm at coffee, I sit there and I journal. Um, and then either before or after I get to my coffee, depending on how long I stayed in bed, is my workouts in there somewhere.
But you
And
like
I've
stay in
had,
bed sometimes for a while. Like you'll call me or mom and it'll be like 11 and
yeah,
like you haven't gotten the coffee yet. So I think it's good that you're bringing it to you. I think that's
yeah.
gonna help.
So
It's gonna help this flow better.
the context here is that so for my entire career, I'd worked in tech, and engineers don't really start work until 10 maybe. Um, and now I also work primarily with people who are on the West Coast. So if I don't start work until 11 or 12, it doesn't matter because no one else is awake anyways. Um, and in New York, if you say you're
Nice.
working 7 or 8, then it's still pretty early New York time, because people are just kind of a late crowd here. So this hasn't done any favors to for myself, and I know that I have all this time in the morning that I'm just wasting. And so I've listened to a lot of podcasts, read books about optimizing time, but I will admit that one of my struggles is time management. I've never been good at it. I'm very ADHD, and I don't like getting out of bed. I'm not a morning person naturally. But I've also realized that I can be, and this is one thing about me. I know that I'm very disciplined, and I always have been. I'm a Capricorn. I am very good at setting my mind to something and not doing it. I really learned this when I was living in San Francisco. So one of my best friends, Issa, I lived with her in San Francisco right after college, and we decided when we got into bodybuilding, right? So she wakes up at like 5:30 in the morning, and
Crazy.
because she was doing it, it made it so much easier for me to do it. Like people's habits rub off on you. and having just the moral support and accountability of knowing that I had to wake up because I had to get that workout in. Otherwise, I wasn't going to be able to make it to work on time. And then having to work out after work and then the next day work out in the morning is brutal. That happened a couple times. Um,
Yeah, 'cause you have
but
like no time to recover, right?
right, you just learn that I learned that I have a capacity for extreme discipline because it's discipline with time, discipline with food, discipline with regimen, everything. And so I know that I can do it. And previously, like in writing a thesis in college, you know, all these goals that I've had throughout my life, I know that I can be very disciplined, just ballet, generally speaking. Um, but
Yeah, well, there's that book Atomic Habits that basically says that anyone can, build new habits. I think it's like if you do it for 2 weeks straight, it just becomes what you do. And then like in essence, we are a product, like we are our habits. So it's basically like if you can just commit to ch struggling with it for 2 weeks, and then it'll just it just gets easier.
exactly. And I remember I've always been really good at doing that and working on habit stacking. It's like adding something to something I already do. Um, so like, for example, I always wash my face and moisturize it in the morning, and I wanted to start adding in face massage. And so now, I like release my masseter muscle with that, right? It's pretty easy. But when it came to
Sorry,
time,
wait, your butt muscle?
the muscle on your jaw, so like if you're a teeth clencher, this gets really tight. Um, And
So
so
you
you can
massage
kind of like
this?
hold it by your, yeah, so you like hold this and you like pull down and it like releases that muscle. It
Ooh,
actually feels really good. And you can kind of even see
that's
the
really,
difference from like one side of my face to the other.
yeah. Wait, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Um,
anyways, so when I lived with Issa and I was able to wake up at 5 in the morning and get to the gym for 2 hours and then get to work by 9. And then I, because I also had to drive an hour down to San Mateo. Anyways, then I moved back to New York. I move in with my boyfriend, and I naturally am a snoozer. Like, naturally, waking up for me is the worst. All of childhood, my mom was coming into my room singing, like, pulling the covers off, turning the lights on, like, getting me out of bed. I was, and I would still complain about it. Getting to school on time was really hard.
you were
But
always late.
yeah, yes, I try really hard, but I'm unfortunately kind of a chronically late person. Um,
Yeah, and not to
I
mention then having to like once you were up, pick out an outfit. That's a whole nother chapter of the morning.
well, I learned to start um, picking out my outfit the night before was a big unlock, and also for getting to the gym early in the morning, picking out exactly what I was going to wear the day before, packing it in my gym bag, and picking out the workout outfit I was going to wear. That was huge.
Yeah,
Um,
that's such a hack.
I
Especially
don't
when
do
it's like
that.
the weather is crummy. It's like such a hack.
Yeah. I don't do that now just because I work from home and I like can always look like I just throw on whatever will be passable. But it does sometimes I do take the time in whether it be the night before or the morning to like put on a real outfit, look cute, feel good. Um, because it
Okay,
really there's
so
definitely
what are
some
some of the
like I
things?
mentioned.
Yeah, like what are the new things that you're going to be integrating?
So the biggest one is I am giving up the snooze button. I'm just setting my alarm. Maybe I'll adjust it if I'm trying to get to bed earlier, of course, but really, if I can just actually wake up when my alarm goes off, I find that my energy is just better. So even if I'm really tired and I am so upset, just this past week of doing that, um, has been huge for me. And I said, like, I absorb all this content, and I'd never actually heard something that really worked for me. But I was listening to Mel Robbins' podcast and her like 5 4 3 2 1 rule that she's it's not even the first episode I've heard her talk about it in, but it was the first time someone had explained to me that you're basically telling your brain that it can go through another sleep cycle. So even if you wake up again, you basically waste the first 4 hours of your day feeling groggy and uninspired. And I've noticed the shift.
Wow.
I've noticed that if I can just get myself out of bed, and I'm already a bed maker, like these are like habits that I have. I'm always been somebody who tries to really, really optimize as much as possible because I know that I'm naturally kind of spacey and not good at time. Um, but yeah, that has been really huge for me. The past week I've just felt more energized. I felt like I'm able to just actually use the first 4 to 6 hours of my day that I previously was just kind of being lethargic, like checking my email, like looking at social media, being like rah rah rah. Um, but
Yeah, that's the
yeah,
worst thing you
so
can do. Just dive right into that. Okay, so just so I fully understand this, so you're saying that when you hit snooze and you fall back asleep, like you're basically telling your body that it's going into like another REM cycle, so that even if
exactly.
you don't stay asleep and then you wake up, your body is still like thrown and like sleep like half asleep in a way, more
Pretty
so
much,
than it
yeah.
would be if you just got up.
Exactly.
Interesting, I didn't know that. Okay, that makes sense. I'm
Yeah.
an
And
early
I'm still
morning
like
person, so this has
you've
never
always
really
have.
been. I'm
Well, I
up at
did
like
notice
seven.
a difference. So I wear the Aura ring, and I woke up today and I felt a little more tired than normal because I didn't get a full 8 hours. And I got like 7.5. And I woke up in the middle of a REM cycle instead of during light sleep. And the past week, I felt really good because I'm waking up like 8 hours, alarm goes off. I wake up, I'm in light sleep, but I got slightly less sleep. And timing wise, I woke up in the middle of a REM cycle and I noticed the difference. So that's really interesting. I need like an alarm clock that like only that would just wait until it's till my wait for my dream to end. Um,
I feel like that'll be like an Aura Ring feature at some point. It'll like
should be.
know and buzz,
Yeah.
electric shock you up. Um, okay, so no snooze. You're gonna be making your coffee at home, which is also probably gonna be a cost
Yeah,
savings
I didn't even
for
get to that.
sure.
I told you that earlier, but I didn't even get to that. Yeah, not going to the coffee shop. Getting, I'm now a pour over girly, and this is just because actually getting out the door, and I'm sure a lot of people have this, like just getting out the door in and of itself is an event. Especially living in New York where you're like, oh, like I don't really care how I look, but I don't want to look terrible. And um,
That's like
yeah,
always, it's always when you look the worst that you run into like the last person
people you
you'd
know.
want to see looking
Yeah.
like straight homeless.
Like if I can wake up, get out of bed, make my coffee, have my breakfast, I can still journal, do my workout, and then once
And
I
do you work out
shower,
in your do you work out in your apartment or do you go somewhere?
it depends on the day. So I have a gym in my building, so that's where I usually work out unless I'm going to Pilates. That's my mode right now. Um, Maybe one day I um can be bougie and join Equinox, but it's just not walking distance from me right now. So
I mean, if you have a gym in your building, that's amazing. Gets the job
yeah,
done.
right. I mean, I'd like to be able to separate it from home just because I also work from home and still have time to like have good like creative time to write or make art or all of the things that I like to do. I just like to have structured time to myself where it's like, a lot of people talk about working out and how like get up and work in the morning as if like pay yourself first. Pay yourself first because then you have this whole day where like other people are, vying for your time and you're doing the work that you get paid for. And I think the idea for me, because I have all of these creative projects that I want to put out, it's like I'm going to have at least 30 minutes where I am allowing myself to put my like top mental energy towards things that matter the most to me. And not that my job doesn't matter. I like actually really enjoy my job and I've become a specialist in a very niche technology and that's something that I don't take for granted. And it's when I've worked all day and I'm really, really tired and it's like 7 p.m. and I just want to, either see a friend or like binge watch TV. Um, that's not when I'm feeling my most creative and inspired. So really you trying to utilize my morning and when I'm in like a more concentrated mental state.
Can you t touch on like what are some of these creative projects that you're kind of building time for into your day?
Um, so well, editing this podcast. Um,
Obviously.
which honestly I don't think we'll edit too much because oh well. Imperfect
Free
humans
flow.
talking in a free flow format. Then I'm a poet. So I really, really love writing poetry. And it's something that's become important enough to me. And it used to just be something that I wrapped into journal time or that just came out at random moments, but it's something that really makes me feel really alive and helps me like feel like really centered and really like connected to the divine in a way that's really special to me. And so it's almost like taking time to write poetry is like me taking time to pray, which I also do. Um, but it's just something that I want to really make a concerted effort and do. Because I also have other like projects, a collage, for example. Um, but that's something that's takes up a little bit less of my brain space. So doing that at night is fine. Um, but also I can't find any good magazines. If anyone knows any vintage magazines, I need them. Send them to me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like the whole collaging thing, it like touches on just like kind of like the somatic healing that we were talking about the other day, where it's like just finding time to like play. Like I
Hmm.
remember when we were like 12 and 14, like that was our jam. We would remember like saving our parents' wine bottles and then just like
And like
covering
J14.
them. Yeah, covering them in like J14 clippings and glue and sparkles and ribbons and being like, this
We
is the
still
most beautiful vase I've ever seen in my life.
we still have some of them. The
I
vases, and then
know.
we used to hang all of our collages all over the walls in our bedrooms. Um,
Yeah. So the
we
fact
thought
that
they
you like still make time for doing that is I love that. It's like just the simple pleasures and like kind of getting back in touch with your younger self. And you're
exactly.
really good at it. The other thing I was going back to like the working out, I also find that when I like to just like work out in the mornings and get it over with so that like A, I'm not stressing and like giving myself guilt trip all day about like how I haven't worked out yet and how I want to do something after work or like meet up with friends and then I'm like, but I didn't work out. So I love that element of getting it out of the way. I like officially started my day. Obviously, working from remote, it's like a little bit different because it used to be like, okay, run to the gym, put on your like, dress and like kitten heels, like run into Midtown. Now it's like I
Oh.
still dress for the day. Sometimes that is sweatpants and coming
Even
back
so,
to
like
my
making
home office.
yourself presentable from like the chest up is it still just gives you an energy. So like I was wearing a real outfit today, but then I came back and I like immediately put on my sweatpants.
Yeah. I like
And this
going
is
out and like seeing, especially like, so I work remote. I live in the suburbs of New York. I live in Greenwich, Connecticut, and I work in recruiting, which is pretty much like a remote job most of the time. Sometimes I'll go in and meet clients or candidates or go to events and stuff, which is really fun. Because I get to like go in for like social gatherings, not like to just like sit in an office and like check a box. So I love that element, but I find like I need to go to the gym, not even just to work out, even if I just like go for an executive workout, if I, which I rarely do, but there are those days. I just need to like
what's
get
an
out of the
executive
house.
workout?
Oh, an executive workout is when you just go and steam and take a long shower and get dressed.
I've never heard that before.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a hangover cure. But no, I usually will like do something. But even if it's like just the action of I need to like go into the world and see people, otherwise I like kind of go crazy.
Well, that's why I
So
did the coffee shop thing, but then I realized just having the noticing that it wasn't serving me anymore and that I needed
right.
to like make a shift. So tell me, what is
I mean,
your ideal morning? You're like a morning person. So what's like a morning person's ideal morning?
um, yeah, well, first of all, as not a morning person to not have coffee accessible like in your living space, like this is a long time coming. Um, For an ideal morning person, I wake up around 7:30-ish, sometimes earlier, it depends. I go downstairs. Will usually makes me coffee, which is really nice. I don't have to like basically I go downstairs and like a fresh cup of coffee is like brought to me. Um, which is a great perk of marriage, so far. In an ideal morning, I'll do some like journaling and I like to like read. I try not to turn on the TV right away. I try not to look at my phone right away, which is it's challenging, but I try to at least give myself like the first 30 minutes. So I'll like write down like some things that I'm grateful for. This is of course in an ideal morning. This isn't like every morning. But I'll write down what I'm grateful for. I'll write down like some of the big things I want to do that day. And those range from like work related to personal to like book I want to read, music I want to listen to. Like it could be anything. And then like set an intention for the day. And then I take Remy out. So like I like to get outside and like get some nature for like 10, 15 minutes. And the great thing about having a dog is like you have to. So I take Remy on like a little like probably 10, 15 minute stroll around the neighborhood, and come back and then I make breakfast, which I always eat the same thing for breakfast. Like I don't like on the weekends sometimes I'll make like a fancy omelet, but during the weekdays I just eat we just do like a couple fried eggs and either like a piece of toast or avocado or both. Like I don't like I like
I'm
to
the
like
same.
just have
I have a
yeah, just a repeatable breakfast. So I do that. And then sometimes we'll watch the news for a little bit. I do like to like I like to watch the morning news for maybe like 10 or 15 minutes. And then I turn on music and just like get like some music going while I like open up my laptop and like start my day.
Do you and Will
Yeah.
still work, like start your day in the same room?
Sometimes I'll start downstairs. So Will also works remote and his office is like in the living room. So kind of depends on his schedule. If like he has calls starting in the morning, then I'll come up here. But sometimes I'll like start cooking. I'll like start something if I'm like making something that's gonna take a while for like dinner that day. Sometimes I'll cook in the morning because I find it like is really relaxing and then I don't have to worry about it later.
Mhm.
So sometimes I'll like pull out what I'm gonna cook. I'll like do some prep work and then I'll like go to the gym. Or I will like dive into work for a few hours and then like go to the gym later in the day. It just kind of depends.
You're so productive in the mornings. I feel like sometimes I'll, especially some of the days where I like was, if I'm really tired and I, roll out of bed at 10:30, 11, and then get right to work, I feel like I'm like getting pictures of you being like, look what I made. Like I made a whole roasted duck like with a bird, like I'm like, are you like
Yeah.
what? Yeah, but even so, you've always been so productive in the morning because, and I'm making this connection where you said your morning routine and like you never hit the snooze button. Have you never been a snooze button hitter?
I have like an internal clock. It's actually weird. I'll set an alarm for like different times. Like if I have a flight, for example, and I have to wake up at like 5:30, I'll wake up at like 5:29. It's really weird. I'll like catch my alarm. Yeah, I
Wow.
don't know how to explain it.
That's, I mean, I feel like for me, that's like if if I have somewhere I have to be, like that's just like an anxiety alarm. Like I will, in like a lighter sleep wave, I'll like wake up and be like, what time is it? And I'll do that a couple times, like if I have a really early flight, because that's a life hack. Is early flights are better. No, even I'm not as a morning person. Just get it, like waking up and like getting there is just the
It
better way.
totally
But
is. I, but it also can be dangerous. Like I just booked a flight for my friend's getting married in a few months, and like the only flight options were 6 a.m. flight out of JFK or one that would make me an hour late to the rehearsal dinner. So I was like, okay, I guess we're doing 6 a.m. And I'm like so nervous about it because like so there's just so much that could go wrong.
yeah, I had to wake up at like
Like
what, 3?
yeah, less me, more Will. I just feel like there's a lot that could go wrong. But yeah, we'll see. Okay, so what I was gonna say is the mornings are really easy for me and I feel like I wake up really easily. But with that, I'm an extremely light sleeper and I have a hard time falling asleep sometimes. So shifting to the evening, I like have to have like a whole, there's like a whole kind of like the circumstances have to be just right for me to fall asleep. And if they're not, I won't.
Okay,
So it comes,
the correct ritual has to happen.
yes, the correct ritual, which I have perfected over the years. And actually, it was really interesting because when I went to your book club the other day and that doctor was saying, he's like a holistic doctor and he was giving sleep advice, his routine and mine are like pretty identical. So that was pretty cool. I was like, hell yeah. Um,
Yes. Fine.
yeah, so I haven't, I know like a lot of people put like red lights in their bedroom. I haven't been able to talk well into that yet, but it's like on my list of like you get like the blue lights out, so you're
We
really not
just
supposed to
do it.
watch TV.
Buy the red light bulbs and put them in and see if he notices.
It's worth a shot. Yeah, I'll give it a whirl. But I do have a red light mask, which also I think kind of like it's good for your skin, but it also just kind of chills you out, like it calms you down. Um, I try not to watch TV like it's not perfect. Sometimes I do. Brianna and I both enjoy falling asleep to Gilmore Girls reruns. That's a habit
Well,
that we've
now I'm
built.
Netflix because I refuse to get my own account, so now I'm not on Gilmore Girls.
I was just gonna, I kind of got off topic. I was trying to describe like the ideal evening is that I take magnesium and ashwagandha and I drink a big glass of, I don't drink the whole glass, but I have like a glass of ice water and I have my silk pillowcase with my silk eye mask. And sometimes I do a little wash-all after I like put on my moisturizer and like my night cream and my under eye cream. And I have pretty into crystals, as you know, Brianna. So I'll usually have like I have a crystal by the side of my bed that like correlates with like my mood. Like I'll like switch them around. Like I have like a rose quartz or a clear quartz or an amethyst. Or like a lot of others, I'll like kind of grab whatever my mood is every couple of days, and that like stays by the side of my bed, and that keeps me really calm. And sometimes I'll even like kind of hold it as I'm like dozing off. Like literally, I was telling Brianna, I like literally have like rocks in my bed sometimes because I'll fall asleep holding them, and then I'm like snuggling with rocks, literally. Does great things to my love life. Just kidding. But yeah, so that's like an ideal evening.
Yeah, you're really good at doing that, and also like just putting yourself to bed and like trying to fall asleep. That's really good. I'm gonna work on one thing at a time. I'm okay at falling asleep, but not perfect. That's one of my I'm trying to wean myself off of TV before bed. Because I won't even watch it. I'll just put it on because I like to listen to it. Um, I think it's just like a living alone thing. But I know it's not good sleep hygiene, and I know that that's a last like remnant of like places where I allow anxiety to win in my life. So I'm trying to wean myself into reading, but right now I read I read in bed and then put the TV I put the TV on my phone because it times out after 15 minutes. And so in those 15 minutes I can fall asleep, but I can't have silence. And I
Okay.
guess I could put on like a sleep story or something, but I figure it's kind of the same thing. It's like, why does it matter if it's like TV that I'm not watching and just making people talking versus a sleep story? You know, it's the same idea.
Yeah. I also think like I used to do when I lived in the city by myself for years, like I would do something kind of similar. I feel like that's also like kind of a living alone in the city because there's just so much random noise.
Hmm.
Um, I wonder if like a sleep machine or those like sound machines that if that could be like your next step
I have one of
on
those
that.
molecule air purifiers that sits right next to my bed and it's between me and the window. I actually feel really grateful. I live on a pretty quiet street. And so that's typically enough, unless there's someone like, there's always people screaming randomly. Like that's just kind of New York. So, but if that's not happening, then it's super quiet. Anyways, I
Yeah.
feel like the big rule that I am focused on this past week and hopefully for the rest of my life is I am no longer hitting snooze and I'm reclaiming my mornings.
Mm. Yeah, well, keep us posted on this journey. I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
All right, cool. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. It's been lovely having you, and we will see you soon.